All right, you're on.
Okay, we will call to order the Special Contacts Committee. Myself as chairperson, Cheryl Ramos and Jim Suddenright are committee members, and alternate Dean Holland. So we just have two ordinances to review tonight. The law director sent an email explaining out what was going on with both of these ordinances. So basically, ordinance 11/2022 had some typos in it when they went to go through it. It had typos, and then with this one, for the 11/2022, that was all that there was in there were the typos. And then the other one, 12/2022, was the nuisance abatement. And basically that, we already passed both of these last year. And basically that one, it requires a Board of Nuisance Abatement Appeals. And instead of establishing another one, because it's hard to find board members for things like that, he wanted to use the already established Housing Appeals Board, which hears appeals regarding enforcement of the housing and building codes. So the mayor was on board with that, and so basically we're just adding that to the ordinance. So just those two things, and since he wanted those passed on first reading tonight, because we've already passed both ordinances last year, so he just wanted to fix the typos and get that board in place, just to amend those. Any questions or comments from the committee members? No? Any questions or comments from?
We don't have enough people to pass the suspend rules. Just so you know, just so you're
I
aware
wasn't
of that.
even thinking about that, okay.
We only have 5, because he'll be president tonight.
So
Who are
we
you making?
will, we can add it to tonight's agenda and then pass next council meeting.
Would that be, and this is just from my, could we pass it on second, or we can't even, it can't be heard tonight at all? can
You're
it?
going to read it one time, so that would be, we would add it.
Do it in the next
and read
Yeah, so if we
Yeah.
read it,
So
if we read
pass
it
it.
tonight, we could pass it.
Yeah, we can pass on second, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll just need a motion to add both of those to tonight's agenda and pass on second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to add, not a motion to add ordinance 11 and ordinance 12/2022 to the agenda tonight.
In a second?
Second.
We'll take a vote. I'll vote yes. Mr.
Yes.
Sunright?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other issues to come before the committee? No, motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Easy enough.
2 and 3 minutes, that was good.
Talk back.
This is a special contact meeting.
Special
We do
contact
that, right?
Can't beat that.
No,
Trying to keep you.
no, we did that because I just moved it along.
Well, no, your first one was a long one.
That was like.
Yeah, all right.
He was good. Made it to Pittsburgh on the way back and tapped out. I'm like, you gotta drive.
Really?
Yeah, it was about 6:40 in the morning. I was not a responsible adult during that whole day leading up. I was out playing in the ocean, 2 o'clock in the morning, just Here's garbage, but I've got.
You're on.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's Finance Committee meeting, June 13, 2022, 7 PM. Members of my committee is myself, the chair, Mr. Dean Holland, Mrs. Amy May, and my alternate is Mrs. Cheryl Ramos. We have a few items on the agenda for this evening. The first item is proposed resolution 2021, a resolution by the city of New Philadelphia authorizing the auditor to pay $20,000 to the New Philadelphia City School District for the refurbishing of the track at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium and declaring an emergency. During appropriations, they requested $50,000. It was also in the mayor's request. At that time, we held back due to the economy and income tax, and we said if the income tax showed a healthy balance in the first part of the year, we would add the additional $20,000. So with that, I said I'd call a meeting, and that is what I'm doing here this evening. We just received another update from the income tax department, which was another $57,000 up from last year, same month. So we've been up each month considerably. So with that, I think it being part of our property, the stadium, I have no problem with putting money into our own facilities for our community and our students to be using. So with that, I'll open up to the committee members. Do we have any comments? Hear none? Other council members? Administration? Yes?
Is this adding 20,000 then?
Yes, to the park line item, capital improvements.
Okay, shouldn't we be adding the 30 though, because we only have the 20 in there?
We added the 30 at original appropriations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're adding 20.
Adding 20 to that, which comes to a total of 50,000. Is that correct, Mayor, is what your
Right.
understanding is? Okay.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate this gesture by council. Yeah, it's a
I-
good investment.
I did speak with Superintendent Wentworth. She is out of town this week, and she expressed her thank you to council and the administration for that. And she said she looks forward to working with us in some future projects. So the partnership will continue, and hopefully it continues in a positive way. I think there's, the city and the school district works as one. If you have a weak city, you have a weak school district, you have a weak school district, you have a weak city. So hopefully we're strong together, and we're not redundant on our spending of our citizens' money. I think it's very good we partner and utilize our money together for the citizens. Anybody in the audience? Comment?
Yeah, I think the 20 grand would be better off with protecting the kids at the school. I addressed this here, that a lot of deaf ears.
First of all, you need to go to the podium.
Here,
And it doesn't magnify, it records.
here,
Yeah.
the microphone is here.
Oh, it's up here?
Yeah, I moved it.
I'll take it back.
There you go.
Is it on?
It's on.
I couldn't get them.
That's okay. Just please state your name and address.
It's Bart Eames, and my address is 418 Union Avenue, Northwest, New Philly. I'm just saying, I think the money could be used better off to keep the kids safe at the schools. With everything that's going on, I think the track is like the least of the worries of society right now. I addressed this before, and things are just getting worse with people, and I don't know. I would think protection in the schools would be a little more important than a track.
Okay,
That's all I have to say about that part.
Right. Thank you. Any other comments? Do I have a motion for proposed resolution 2021?
I'll make that motion to add, is it resolution, ordinance?
Resolution 2021.
2021 to tonight's agenda.
I got this 20.
Do you want to, do we need to pass it on?
No, we don't have enough people to pass it. We
It's
just have it.
Resolution 21, 2022.
21.
I have 21.
Yeah.
Resolution
Yes.
21.
I've been
Is
saying
what I
so.
think.
Okay,
Yeah,
Is 21,
21.
2022?
21, 2022
okay,
is what I have.
okay,
Is that
that's
what
what
you
I
have?
have too.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I have, yes.
And then pass on 3 readings.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Second?
I would second
Okay, give me a second. Vote? Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mr. Holland?
that. Yes.
And I vote yes also to add it to the agenda this evening. Okay, the next item come before the committee is proposed resolution 22. Yeah. Where did I put that? 22, 2022. It's a resolution for purchase agreement, parcel number 25-02150-000, located 1450 Ridge Avenue Northeast, New Philadelphia, Ohio 44663. Others may know that as Reservoir Hill, up at the end of Kreider, up that hill is where it's located. I do have a couple questions, but I'll have the service director, he's the one that initiated this. The use of the property and the equipment that's on the property. Mr. McAbeer?
Yes, and I think to everybody, I may have sent out for the generator, it was there, I think it was 15 kW, I forget exactly what it was now. I was just looking through it through my thing. And half-acre lot and the tower that's there. Superintendent DeVolt, well, first, Steve Lucas from ODOT had reached out to myself, and so I thought, well, yeah, maybe just because of the location of it next to our water towers, and then talking with Scott, hoping maybe that the telemetry could be used, maybe put another receiver for our remote reads, possibly for our water meters. And then we also have a lift station that sits at the bottom of Hillendale Avenue that we usually have communication issues with. So maybe hoping that we could possibly get another transmitter up there for the lift station SCADA system for that. Talked with Steve, they had just sold one out in Holmes County, and what the reason is they get away with, when that Marks system came in, did away with 911, went to Marks system, these are obsolete as far as for them. So, he offered it to me, and back to Holmes County, it was roughly the same, 16.5, and it went for 15.9. So I think the price wise, myself personally, I believe the tower alone is worth twice that money, myself, and then you got the generator,
It's 50.
there's,
1,500. You were looking for the generator, what, 1,500?
yeah, I thought, okay, yeah, and so, that, and then there's a propane tank, 300 gallon, that's on site, that is it's not rented, it's theirs. So between those three things and the proximity to the water towers, Scott thought it was a good purchase, so, and I tend to agree with that. So if we can do something with it down the road, all the better for us.
Mr. McAbeer, is there any intention to add cell tower or anything to that? Was there anything proposed for that? Because I know the mayor is big on the 5G and
Yeah,
network
nothing-
for the city.
Yeah, at this point, no, but
Okay.
it could be,
Okay,
Mr. Rickly, it could be.
okay.
It's a half acre.
Used for
and-
wireless
Yeah,
communication.
and it could be, I never even thought about that, great point, but I don't think we talked about it since then. It was all
Okay.
pretty much stuff that we was thinking about for the water and the wastewater, but, and then it's, from the best of what we shot, it's about 63 feet higher than the tanks, the storage tanks. So it is up higher. If it's the same, you're thinking, maybe not, would be something that way. But again, that's just going by us measuring off the Google and getting it up there. So again, it's about approximately 63 feet higher than the tanks now.
I was just looking at revenue for the city, if there's anything been proposed or included for that.
Yeah, it possibly could.
Yeah.
Possibly could.
Okay,
You know, right now they have, if anybody's been up there or been around there, there's that big one that sits off to the left. Mr. Urfer's land, there's a big one there. So I mean, I don't know, but something probably that we could do is probably, work with, Gensh's group,
Smart way.
Smart Ways to, but something like that maybe, yeah,
okay.
sure.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions about the purchase or the intent? Fellow council members? Administration?
Oh, you know what, Kelly, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman. And I wanted to add, it would be out of, line item. I don't know if you put that on the legislature, I didn't see that.
I do not see a line,
That
that was gonna be my next question, is
Yeah,
where's the money's coming from?
7-Eleven, 3702, 3501. 7-Eleven, 3702, 3501. I
Okay,
think I had mentioned that to Marvin, but I didn't see it whenever I read it real quick.
I think we need to add that to the
Yeah,
ordinance, I mean,
probably
the
would be.
resolution. But I would like to ask the auditor, is there enough funds in that line item?
7-Eleven, yes.
Okay. So I guess with that, I'd like to amend proposed resolution 2021 to add the location of the funds coming from would be, I think it needs to go, can we put it as a section 1, at the end of section 1? The proposed ordinance? Would that be the proper place for that, Mayor?
Yeah,
Okay, under section 1, we'll add it there, funds,
you can just say that the auditor is authorized to allocate funds
okay.
from line item, whatever the number is, 71.
7-Eleven, 3702.
7-Eleven, yeah.
3501, yeah.
But I do believe that that will need to be increased, so in the appropriation ordinance. Well, there's plenty in there now, and I don't know what is gonna be spoken for the rest of the year, so,
I think I've talked to Scott, that's what he felt that he'd like to,
okay. It's probably already there then.
That is the water fund,
yeah,
correct?
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Yes. Mr. Councilman?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that amended resolution 22-2022 be placed on tonight's agenda.
Okay, coming out of committee, I don't think it's amended.
It's not amended.
We can,
unless you
it'll
read
just
it.
be what we wrote down now.
Okay.
I will have the law director
Law director.
clean the copy up for distribution of council members, so we have the correct one. But I think by us talking about it and change it here, it is not amended.
Can't you amend it on the,
You can
But we
amend it
don't-
on the floor,
amend
We
it on
don't-
the floor when they read it?
but,
I'd rather
I
make
mean,
it
if
clean
you,
coming out
it's
of.
up to the chairman if he feels
I'd rather have it
more
clean coming
comfortable.
out of our committee, so where the funds are allocated from, especially with having the auditor already say yes.
Okay.
Okay? So, Mr. Holland's making the motion to add resolution 2022 to the agenda this evening. Do you have a
Can
second?
you just say you weren't gonna do that?
I'm gonna add this to the agenda. We've already, we can write on this, and that is the,
But it's not
Resolution.
cleaned up like
I
you
just thought
said
you
yet.
said that's.
I will
what-
have him give us a clean one, but this is okay. By writing it on there, that is okay coming out of committee, whether it's typed or
I
handwritten.
just misunderstood, because that's not what you said.
Yeah.
You said you wanted it, didn't want to do it that way.
No, I don't want to call it amended. I always want to be called the ordinance, resolution 2022. It's not an amended ordinance. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
No.
Okay, it's a proposed ordinance in my committee. However we write it, it is the ordinance. Once it's out of committee, it becomes, if you change it now, that is a amended ordinance or resolution. In committee, it's not amended.
I would make a motion
Okay?
That we add resolution 22 to tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Take a vote. Mr. Holland?
Yes.
Mrs. May?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. Thank you very much. We have one more item. It was a memorandum from the auditor that was sent on the 12th. Does everybody have a copy of this, committee? Okay, because I need some explanation, that's why I was it. Please produce a supplemental appropriation ordinance for the 2022 permanent appropriations for the next council finance meeting. In this, it's showing a increase in line item 225-2300-5-5,000 equipment, 45,000.
5,200. The last four should be 5,200.
5,200, okay. 5,200. It comes out of the police and fire operating police equipment, $45,000. Do you know what items that's for?
Well, it's for their police cars that they're buying, they're actually leasing. There just wasn't enough, he had asked for more in his original appropriation, and it just didn't get put in the permanent budget.
Okay. Mayor, have you had time
It
to
would be
review
for
this?
the equipment that's being installed.
Well,
And
it
the
could be for
cruiser.
just the equipment, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is actually for? Whether it's-
I don't, Mr. Chairman, but I can find out.
Could you get that and get that to
Yep.
all the council members so we can
Yep.
have that? Because there's no legislation drawn up yet, so
Okay,
basically we're discussing it here, and then
Right.
as the
Well,
legislation, then I'd
it
have to have
was-
another meeting to have.
can you send me that memorandum?
Yes, I can. Yes, I
Thank you.
can. I will send this to you. But at least we'll speak about it now, then I'll
Yeah.
send it to you, then you can get this information, and I'll hold another committee meeting at the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay? If this is important to get out right away, Beth?
I don't think so,
Okay, so we're okay, all right.
yeah.
Okay, the second item on the memorandum is the fire capital, which is 420-4200-5-5200 equipment for an additional 45,000. Do we know what that is for?
There is something he is intending to buy that did not make it into the permanent
Okay.
appropriations.
I know,
And because I can't keep the order of his vehicles and
Okay.
add-ons
Okay.
straight, so I'm gonna give you the wrong answers.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
I know he's out of town. He talked to me, because the item that was given to me from the president council, he wanted me not to discuss it tonight and wait till the next meeting. So meanwhile, we can have that one explained also.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, the next two are out of the water fund, which is 711-3704-5-5300 meter extensions. That is because there's lack of money there, Mr.
Yeah,
McAfee?
because he
First
didn't
I
get his
heard it.
full appropriation in either one of those lines.
There's what?
He didn't get his full appropriation
Okay,
that he
but-
asked for in his budget.
Did he talk to you about needing any more?
No, that's the first day.
Would you, I will just send this all to you. I am gonna stop talking
Yeah,
about this.
please.
Yeah, we
I am
don't
gonna
have
send this to you too.
Yeah, I don't
So
have
you
it.
can,
yeah. I don't like not being able to answer questions.
and there's another $190,000 for construction. And if you don't know about a $190,000 construction job, then I am not putting that money recommended
Yeah,
anymore.
send us.
I will
the
send this
info.
to you then. If
Thank
we
you.
need
It may have
to,
been one of those ones that was cut.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
there you go.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But I
there
don't
was,
know exactly.
there was no
what it's
money
for.
earmarked for any of the other projects. That's what we looked at whenever
Yeah.
you turned your
But I
list.
think they usually come out of that line item that you got cut down.
Just find out what projects is needed and
That's the case with all of these.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, just send us the info.
I will send it, then you can get the information.
We'll-
I need to
we'll get
meet
it
with the
straight
mayor.
And distribute it to all the council members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other items or discussion for the finance committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Holland, at 7:19.
Okay, well, you wanna get set up?
Sure.
Front and center.
We gotta move the mic again.
Did it?
I'd like to call this meeting of the New Philadelphia City Council to order. Would everyone stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's pray. Father God, thank you for this opportunity to serve you in this capacity. Thank you, Father, for the things that you bring to us, that the wisdom and knowledge that you give us to make the right decisions for our community. We thank you, Lord, that we have the opportunity to serve you and to serve this community. Lord Jesus, we pray that you would guide us in the decisions that we make. Dear God, we pray as our Lord Jesus taught us. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to everyone. Ms. Courtright, would you call the roll, please?
Yeah. Mr. Holland.
Present.
Mr. Lanzer. Mrs. May.
President.
Mr. Page. Mrs. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Rickliff.
Present.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Are there any additions to tonight's agenda? Ms. May?
Mr. President, I would like to add ordinance 12, 2022, and 11, 2022 to tonight's agenda.
Have a motion on the floor to add ordinance 11, 2022, and ordinance 12, 2022 to tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
I'll
Ms. Ramos? Ms. Courtright, would you call the roll?
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rickliff.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Yes.
Ordinance 11, 2022, and ordinance 12, 2022 will be added to tonight's agenda. Are there any other additions? Mr. Rickliff?
Mr. President, I ask that we add Resolution 21, 2022, and Resolution 22, 2022 to the agenda this evening.
We have a motion on the floor to add resolutions 21, 2022, and 22, 2022 to tonight's agenda. Is there a second? Ms. May? Did you call roll, Ms. Courtright?
Mr. Rickliff.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Yes.
Resolution 21, 2022, and Resolution 22, 2022 will be added to tonight's agenda. Everyone has received copies of the minutes from the May 23rd meeting. Are there any changes to be made to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes from the May 23rd, 2022 regular session council?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Lanzer? Is there a second? Mr. Seldenwright? Call the roll, please. Ms. Courtright.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Rickliff.
Yes.
Minutes from the May 23rd, 2022 council meeting are adopted. Is there any correspondence, Ms. Courtright?
Yes. To Clerk of Council from Treasurer Gerber, this is dated June 1st, 2022. This is the investment and savings report for May of 2022. To council and administration from Executive Administrative Assistant to the Mayor, Jamie Bailey. This is dated May 31st, 2022. This is the mayor's end-of-month report for May of 2022. To President Kemp from Mayor Day, and Mayor Day from Law Director Fate, dated June 3rd, 2022. This is an email titled, "Please assign to the Finance Committee regarding Resolution 22, 2022. President Kemp asked Councilman Ricklick to take this issue into his committee. To President Kemp from Law Director Fate, this is dated June 3rd, 2022. This is an email titled, "Please assign to the Special and Contact Committee," and this is regarding Ordinance 11 and Ordinance 12. President Kemp asked Councilwoman May to take the resolutions into her committee. To council and administration from Assistant to the Service Director, John Lee Furnett, dated June 7th, 2022. This is an email titled "Possible ODOT Tower Purchase." To council and administration from Income Tax Administrator to the City, Vicki Daniels, dated June 9th, 2022. This is the May 2022 Income Tax Report. To council and administration from President Kemp, this is dated June 10th, 2022. This is an email stating that President Kemp will be out of town this week and unable to attend tonight's council meeting. To council and administration, this is from Law Director Fate, dated June 11th, 2022. This is a legal opinion on Ordinance 11, 2022 and Ordinance 12, 2022. To council and administration from Law Director Fate, dated June 11th, 2022. This is a legal opinion on water and sewer. To council and administration from Mayor Day, this is dated June 13th, 2022. This is a forwarded email titled "Governor DeWine outlines statewide school safety efforts." And to council and administration from Mayor Day, dated June 13th, 2022. This is the mayor's report, and that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Courtwright. And moving into administrative reports, beginning with Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, fellow administrators, and guests. A few things I want to touch on in the report that I sent to you earlier today. In light of the recent mass shootings across the nation, the city of New Philadelphia will be leading an effort to create a community-wide security plan that will encompass our school systems, our churches, and our businesses. We will start the process by having our safety forces meet with officials from New Philadelphia City Schools, Tuscarawas Central Catholic Middle and High School, Buckeye Career Center, and Kent State University, Tuscarawas. The goal will be to review each institution's active shooter and other security measures so that our police and fire departments learn them and can offer recommendations to improve them. Once that is achieved, we will move on to our churches and then to our businesses. The idea of a community-wide response plan was discussed by city department heads at our most recent staff meeting. All agreed that it was time to create a proactive See Something, Say Something campaign that will discover security shortfalls, teach prevention, and allow us to respond as a community to any threats. All council members are invited to attend these meetings and have a role in developing the plan. Last week, I attended the two-day annual Mayor's Association Ohio Conference in Dublin, where Governor Mike DeWine told us that he will sign the legislation that will allow local school boards to decide whether to allow school employees to carry guns. The governor, in fact, signed that legislation today. He also told us that he looked at putting police resource officers in each school, but decided it was too expensive. Also included in the legislation is $100 million from the state's construction budget for school security upgrades and $5 million for upgrades at colleges. In his address, Governor DeWine also told the mayors that he's making a substantial amount of ARPA money available for student wellness and urged schools to use it for mental health purposes. Last year, I used funds from the Mayor's Office Economic Development budget to pay the Tuscarawas Arts Partnership to conduct a study on the feasibility of creating an arts and culture district in downtown New Philadelphia. That study has been completed, and here tonight to discuss its finding is Wilma Mullet, the Executive Director of TAP. And Mr. President, I yield the remainder of my time to Ms. Mullen for her presentation and ask that the Arts and Culture District proposal be assigned to the proper council committee. So Wilma, if you would take the stage. Let me turn this light.
Okay, is this on? All right.
Yep.
Everyone can hear me all right? So, good evening. So I was given the task to figure out what would things look like for an arts and culture district in downtown New Philadelphia. A lot of this was inspired mostly from the conversations that I hear from our local artists and businesses, and I mean all the things I hear that I see in my role. And that's what really inspired for this conversation. And obviously the arts have had such a great presence here, and it's been really wonderful to see the growth. But on my end, with being an arts administrator, advocate for the arts, we also look at the long term. What can we do to continue to sustain arts, culture, and creativity in New Philadelphia, especially with what is already growing organically here, and how can we keep supporting it? So what I was tasked to do is to do some research and come up with a proposal of what that downtown New Philadelphia Arts and Culture District looks like. So I just want to give some background information in terms of a context. What is an arts and culture district? So Americans for the Arts has published extensive articles, but the best definition I could find of what an arts and culture district is a well-recognized labeled area in the city which there's a high concentration of cultural facilities and programs that serve as anchor of main attraction, and it strengthens like the local economies and creates an enhanced sense of place. So that's where people like to take something and call it home. So that is the increased sense of place, and also deepen local cultural capacity. And really, arts and culture districts, and there are extensive articles about how they are a piece of community that intertwines and in initiatives for economic development, cultural tourism, community pride, and even beautification of a designated area or space. And I will say, I say arts and culture districts, sometimes it's labeled as arts districts, even arts and history districts. All of that is pretty much the same thing, where it's a designated space for the arts to have a presence, for cultural relevance, and even creative experiences to happen. So the language interchanges a little bit. I'm going to refer to it as arts and culture district, but there are other terms for which you can call it as well. But I wanted to also give you a glimpse into the economic impact of the arts in Ohio, because I think this is good context to understand as well as we continue a conversation about the Arts and Culture District and even the arts as it continues to grow and expand even further for New Philly. So in 2018, when the State of Ohio conducted a report, the arts contributed more than $41.4 billion annually into Ohio's economy. Now, 70% of it does remain within like the six large metropolitan areas, which includes Akron, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, and Youngstown. However, remarkably, a whole 30% is made up of your small town rural communities here in Ohio. So that's communities that look like Tuscarawas County. And the amount that's contributed is over $12 billion, which is still a significant amount of money from that combination of rural communities and small towns. And the study reveals that the arts presence doesn't just exist in your urban areas or metropolitan areas. It also exists in those small towns, agriculture communities, where the arts have a sense of place and continue to be a part of that daily life and everyday life for its community. So I looked into the question of why downtown New Philadelphia is ready to be an arts and culture district. And there are a few things that I looked at. One of them is looking at the opportunities and assets that already exist. So that is what cultural facilities already exist here in New Philadelphia, what programs or activities already exist here that's been going on for a while or has been newly developed in recent years. Even exploring new activities and creative experiences. Is there a platform where that can happen? Is there opportunities for that to grow? And the one thing that I always like to say too, and is something that's really important, and you'll hear me say throughout this presentation, is giving arts and culture room to breathe and to live within the community. And when I say that, there's no sense of you don't want to box anything in to say arts can have a presence right here. Even though this is a designated arts and culture district, it still intertwines in everyday life and in different aspects of life too. So it can even branch out to an extent. But the arts and culture district does serve as that home base hub where people can expect to see or experience something unique about downtown New Philly, but it does exist outside of it as well. But the idea with it too, with giving it room to live and breathe, is everything changes every year. And you may even see cycles where things change once a year or every 5 years or something. And it's going along with the ebb and flow of it. So that's why I say you allow the arts to breathe and you allow culture to breathe, because it lives within us and it's a whole ecosystem in community. So what I did was I actually did a few case studies where I wanted to look into other existing arts and culture districts that exist here in Ohio, and I actually did one also in Wyoming that I was looking into. So I'm going to kind of go over each of them a little bit. So Franklinton Arts District is just outside of Columbus. It exists like on the southeast-ish side of Columbus in the Franklinton area. Actually, the director of the Franklinton Arts District is from New Philadelphia. His name is Johnny Riddler, and he and I had really great conversation about what the Arts and Culture District looks like in Franklinton compared to even like Short North and Columbus. And the lesson learned here is that the Franklinton Arts District has to create like a balance to maintain the arts district and be an advocate for the local artists, cultural organizations, and creative businesses. And whenever I say advocate, they are in that sort of leadership role where they are in communication with the city government, the local government. They're also in communication with developers, because oftentimes what happens is when developers come in and they want an arts presence, it's usually a one-time deal. Then it's like, okay, that's good, now you can go. And that's unfortunately a trend that we see in a lot of arts and culture districts. And Franklinton is working with developers to continue that programming and relationship with the arts so that it can continue to be a part of that ecosystem rather than it being a one-time deal. So that's one point right there of a lesson learned. Another one is the Gordon Square Arts District. The Gordon Square Arts District is up in the Cleveland area, and it was originally formed as a organization that helped support 3 major theaters within like a certain geographic area, offering capital support. And as support was fed into those theaters, local economic boom also started happening, and other things organically formed within that district as well. But whenever the Arts District, the organization itself, was done serving its purpose of doing that, it was given to Detroit Shoreway to help maintain and manage the Gordon Square Arts District. So the lesson here is that the Arts District has a vibrant ecosystem that formed, and with the city's support, major theaters and neighborhood programs, it was able to sustain itself and also evolve a bit as well. So it continues to be a hub for events and activities, and there's also additional marketing and promotion for any entity that was within that district and even a little outside of it too. All right, Canton Arts District. So I think a lot of us are familiar with First Fridays up in Canton, or about some of the organizations that are up there. So the Canton Arts District has been around for, definitely over 10 years, probably about 15 years now, or close to that. But it definitely was something that started super small and expanded even further. It started as a marketing initiative in the city of Canton. And all of that was started by Rob Higgins with Arts and Stark. So there was that sort of like mutual agreement about like what is the designated arts district there, and First Fridays were born, and it continued to evolve and grow over time there. But in recent years, what has happened is that there was a transition of power in the administration and even within the Arts and Stark, where now people are saying, well, who actually owns the Canton Arts District, or not even own it, but like who runs it, who manages it? Because it was originally one entity, and there was no paperwork behind it either. So whenever things transition, there's nothing to fall back on for sort of like what that relationship, what those defined relationships and roles were. So whenever there's a transition of administrations from the city or from the Arts Council, that was one of the lessons learned, is that there needs to be a clear relationship and defined roles for for that arts and culture district. So is there an entity that is going to oversee all the marketing and promotions and relationships that happens within the arts and culture district? Or is it the city government? Are they the ones to manage it as well? So there's definitely lessons learned on that for why those defined roles are really important as well. And then I just came across this one for downtown Cheyenne, Wyoming. So geographically, in terms of population, it is a similar size to New Philadelphia, so that's kind of why I looked into them. But they have a thriving arts district that's also pretty extensive out there as well. And it started as a sort of neighborhood beautification project, economic development project, and then evolved into eventually that arts district out there. So the lesson learned there was that there are local organizations, entities, and people that can see an opportunity to collaborate. So these are people from different areas that saw the opportunity to collaborate, work on new projects and programs that also emerge organically to create that thriving environment in its communities. After spending several years working on that, they had to look at new directions and start looking at long-term sustainability. And that's where it was going for several years. And now they're asking the questions, what does the long-term look like? What does it look like for sustainability for that arts district for the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? And that's really the question that we're also looking at right now for if downtown New Philadelphia becomes an arts and culture district, how will that look for the long-term for sustainability for it? So that is another question that was explored. So that's a lot of information for kind of the precursor about it, but I felt that this information was very important as part of the research because we need to understand what arts and culture districts are. And I know that whenever you can say that it is that district, but then you also want to make sure that you think about the long term for it. So you say it's an arts and culture district. Well, are you also offering support for those local artists or the downtown businesses? Are there opportunities to collaborate? So that is a huge thing that's really important. But let's look at what some possible next steps would be for New Philadelphia in the current phase right now. So the location and perimeter of the Arts and Culture District. So I was given this map. If you can kind of see where the red outline is, and then even the intersection with the yellow. So obviously, South Broadway all the way down to St. Clair Avenue area, which is like that alley that is just south of where the Tusk Arts Cooperative is right there. So as soon as you're coming from South Broadway, you come up and over that bridge, you enter into what would be the Arts and Culture District as soon as you enter that. And then at the north point right there, it's North Broadway and Ray Avenue. And then also along West High Avenue and Second Drive, Northwest and Southwest, and East High Avenue and Second Drive, Northeast and Southeast. So it's a pretty vast district, which is good because what it does is it's not concentrated in just like one particular little area, but it allows room for growth as well. But I've even mentioned, too, that even though it's focused on that one particular area, that doesn't mean that other activities can't also happen. So the Arts and Culture District can also will have its local galleries, marketplaces, shops, public art, and even events and activities. But then you also think about marketing, wayfinding, planning, and advocacy behind it. And we'll touch on a few points right there. Even something like that can be labeled as a special improvement district, which I know with some people are involved in economic development. If you're familiar with that district, that's arts and culture districts have fallen under the umbrella of the special improvement district. And whenever I mentioned that there are entities that exist outside of it, I'm also saying it's the Center for the Arts, the Tuscarawas County Center for the Arts, the Performing Arts Center at Kent State Tuscarawas, Trump in the Land, Schönbrunn Village, and the Little Theater of Tuscarawas County. That marketing and promotion also is extended out to those entities because they are still cultural anchors in New Philadelphia, that while things are still happening here in downtown New Philadelphia, those entities are just as important and can use that extended marketing, promotions, wayfinding, and such to bring tourism out further from the immediate area. I've talked about the roles of defined relationships for an arts and culture district. So the best illustration I can give, it's a low grading whenever I try to transfer it, but I think of it as a Venn diagram. So you have 3 points, which is your arts, culture, and creativity community. So anyone that's an artist, that's a creative individual, or someone that runs a cultural entity or historic based center. You also have your merchants and businesses, and then you also have the city themselves, the local government. each entity plays a role in the development of this arts and culture district. And it's also a great opportunity to figure out what those roles are, but then find where those overlaps are too, because those overlaps allow for opportunities to collaborate and to come together for maybe special projects or programs, but then everyone can also work together for that one common goal of creating what that arts and culture district looks like, whether it's an organization or something that does exist here in the community. And this, the goal is that this organization or this arts and culture district is to create a balanced relationship between the arts community, downtown businesses, and local governments for those sort of opportunities. And those opportunities to collaborate and bring together a thriving downtown, because all three can play a role together. And I did mention some things about like marketing, wayfinding, and such. So marketing being the promotion of events and activities so that residents and guests can know what's going on in downtown New Philly or in its cultural anchors. And even participating in a comprehensive marketing plan for the district. So if there's a comprehensive marketing plan, I mean, what is that? What's that common logo and slogan or something that brings people downtown? That way it's something shared among multiple entities that exist in the downtown area. So a comprehensive marketing plan, wayfinding, signage. People are always wondering, what direction do you have to go for certain things? I mean, there's even, whenever I was talking to Tim Seidel with the Tusk Arts Cooperative, he gets people that comes into the gallery there and into his business for around the corner frames. And he tries to point to people on what direction they should go next to visit other entities or other businesses that exist. Then they stand outside and they're looking around like, where else are we supposed to go? So there has to be defined signage, wayfinding signage to be able to help with that. And that could be anything from signage that identifies the district to even creating billboards. So we get 250 and 77 traffic, so why not create billboards to marketing plan that brings people in for that continued wayfinding. Public art, and with that, there's a lot of public art that's been growing around here, and I know a lot of places are taking note of it. So what does it look like for maintaining those public art pieces and the sustainability for that? So that's, again, questions to consider as well. Coordinating new public art projects, whether you create like a commission. So Mayor Day mentioned that he was in Dublin. They have a public art commission affiliated with the city of Dublin, and they have 77 pieces throughout Dublin that is organized by that public art commission. And then even with thinking about creative placemaking, and a lot of people think about creative placemaking, and creative placemaking is a term of looking at functional public art. So it could be anything from, like in some cities, like in some cities, they've had, what's it called, those large storage containers that semis haul or something. They'll cut those out and they'll fabricate those to become RTA, like bus shelters. So that's a way to relook at some spaces, or even taking a pocket that exists, like, oh, actually, there we go. Artigan Alley is an example of creative placemaking. Taking something that exists that is just an alley and turning it into something that's more functional and something more creative. Even pocket parks can be a function in that sense too. And that's creative placemaking, rethinking spaces in a creative way. And even don't sleep on the public art events that happen, whether it's art on the alley, music on the square, or something new comes up where maybe some of the local dance companies want to come and they want to put on a downtown dance performance, then hey, why not? Let's incorporate performing arts as well. And even thinking about the relationships too. Whenever it comes to relationships, it's really important that all entities have an opportunity to collaborate and have a say in something. So that is your local artists, that is your downtown businesses and merchants, and that is your city employees and city officials. And that everyone comes to the same table and works together on creating what this is, because everyone is a part of the same ecosystem, a part of the same community, and in the end, don't we all want to take care of what we call home? So. Now, whenever it comes to, I say like organization and such, well, we need to think about the people behind the scenes that's also facilitating, managing, maintaining the arts and culture district. So even thinking about like my position with TAP, I'm one person working 26 hours a week, and I'm doing the work of maybe 5 people. So even just think about, are you going to have that as a one-person part-time job, or is it better to actually invest in the people behind it so that they can be able to continue to build those relationships and be efficient in the work that they can do to help enrich the experiences for a downtown New Philadelphia Arts and Culture District. So that's anything from, like, if it was a nonprofit, it could be an executive director or some sort of administrative position that serves as that sort of like head person that people can go to for those relationships and resources. And then even a second position of creating like marketing and communications director. So someone that is also there to help the main administrator so that they can be there to like maybe run a community calendar or be able to work with a comprehensive marketing plan and keeping that all on the same level as well. Then even if it was a nonprofit route, board of directors, again, looking at the Venn diagram illustration, it's really important to keep those relationships in synergy with each other. So having equal opportunities where you have those artists and businesses and city officials or city members that are a part of the same team and all working together to create a thriving arts and culture district. So there's also like conversations, and I got a lot of this research from Gordon, the Gordon Square Arts District, and even a few other, some of the other resources I've mentioned earlier. The big thing behind it is that there has to be a lot of city support behind it, because an arts and culture district can't be supported and maintained for a long run without the city also being behind it as well. So the key things to keep in mind is that the support from the city has to be present and engaged with the development and the maintenance. And I'm not just saying that you just sit back and just allow things to just, I mean, yeah, you can allow things to happen because things will form organically, but it's also important for you to also be at the groundwork as well, to be there like with the artists and talking to them when they're painting a new mural along one of the buildings, or even going to a performance like at Music on the Square and just being there in the groundwork and being a part of the community, because that's also a part of development, is to be there as well. So that's why it's really important that those individuals have to be present. And with that, you work alongside the managing organization for the development of like the location, or the Arts and Culture District collaborate on these opportunities, and even contracting the defined roles and relationships. So as this continues to grow in the development, even having like some sort of like document that defines what the roles and responsibilities are accordingly for the Arts and Culture District, that's going to be really important, especially if there's ever a transition in mayors or in like certain administrations, or even with businesses. Those defined roles are really important for the long-term sustainability, because we're not looking at just the next 5 years, we're looking at 10, 20, 50 years from now as well. So having those defined roles are definitely important. And even city members serving on the board of directors for that, to really be there on the groundwork again with the arts. So I'm going to wrap this up, because this is a lot of information that I've definitely thrown at you, between all the context of what the Arts and Culture District is and even some next steps to help with that. I mean, really, New Philadelphia is ready for an establishment of an Arts and Culture District, because a lot of things have formed organically. It's definitely served as a solid foundation for what exists here. And I mean, you can see it with the events that are put on, the murals that are going up. New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, I mean, there's a thriving arts community here, and we're only seeing like the beginnings of it. There's so much more opportunities for new creative experiences to happen, and we have to also be alongside with it in tandem to help it continue to grow and sustain as well with that support. So again, look at the existing assets and new creative opportunities that's coming up. Things have been growing organically, but you also need to give the arts space to live and breathe within the community, because it is a part of that ecosystem that has to grow with the community. And even starting to look at the long-term sustainability for the current moment and years ahead. There's a lot of things that's happening right now where there's relationships building and overlap opportunities, and we can even look at opportunities for better resources so that we can continue to improve and grow even more throughout the district, or even for the assets that exist outside of it as well. But the long-term question to even think about is, how can we maintain and sustain what is culturally unique about downtown New Philly? And even though it's like it's arts, culture, and creativity, but it's community. It's what we live with each day. It's whether it's something that you watch on TV or you see something in the paper. I mean, these are individuals here that's investing into their communities. So you have all these new mural circuits going up. You have individuals that are trying to create these new programs here that improves New Philadelphia and really help claim it as part of their home as well. So why not also come alongside with them and think long-term, how can we continue to create what is culturally unique about New Philadelphia and continue to sustain it? So that is my proposal, I guess, so.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Wilma. Mr. President, that concludes my report. Any questions for the mayor?
Thank you, Mr.
Sure, that
Mayor.
won the law director, was that the law director's report?
I see that the law director has graced us with his presence.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, moving to the service director, Mr. McAbeer.
Mr. President? I was getting this for the mayor.
Yeah, you get that.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. A few project updates I'd like to give you tonight. Last Tuesday, June 7th, we met for the CDBG project. Update on that is, it's 2nd Street Northwest, curbs and sidewalk, and hopping over to 2nd Street Northwest from between North and Minnick. We got a schedule last week, different than what we typically use. They're usually in there like now, but he's backlogged, so he's gonna come in August 15th, which gives him, I think, 7 days before school starts. So he's gonna be over on 2nd Street Northwest first, get that done, and roll over on 2nd Street Northeast. So I think he's gonna be okay, hopefully weather-wise, he's gonna be okay. Because if not, he's gonna be into the school traffic out there, which could get a little sticky for him. Also, 2 weeks ago, well, a week and a half ago, was the deadline for the sidewalk replacement program. Graded everything out last week. 10 homeowners were gonna be able to help. That's all we had. So I'm urging anybody out there, if anybody still gets calls or anything, we're gonna leave it open until we get up against that wall to where we won't be able to get the work done that the form lays out as a deadline, which is the end of October. So until that money's gone, I think we're just gonna, we decided last week, let's just keep this going. I think we still wanna see sidewalks done. The money's appropriated. So again, until we get up against that deadline, if someone comes in in August, say, as long as you get it done by the deadline, we're gonna okay it. So again, if anybody hears anything or anybody asks, yes, there's still money available. We're still willing to do it. Also, at the last council meeting, we had a meeting before that about the runway lighting, and I had that on my brain, but that was actually the beacon tower that was being done. I read back through the minutes today, and I was like, okay. But anyways, the beacon tower, all the conduits in, the base is there now too, and the last time, I talked to them today, and there's supposed to be the earthwork rehab, just like where the ditch lines are. They come in and seed that and water everything in. So still waiting on the beacon and the pole, which they say will be delivered in July. So hopefully here by the end of July, we'll have the new beacon up. Also talked with Jeff Gesner from Newton's, and paving will start Wednesday. They're gonna go down on Church Avenue, and then they'll go to, we added Howe Avenue since it's right down there, and First Drive. And then from there, he said Second Drive, up there by Fenton's where we're at, and then we'll try to keep everybody up on the city's website to where he goes from there. But we'll be at the south side the rest of this week. Those 3 days with his, remember Church Avenue is a pretty good run from Broadway to Fifth, and then that First Drive. So I'm sure we'll be down there all week, for sure. And again, like I said, once we move, we'll keep everybody in the loop on the city's website. That's the end of my report.
Are there any questions for the service director?
You have one in front. Hey.
Mr. Ricklick?
Mr. McGirt, would you mind taking into consideration, looking to see if it would be beneficial if we could add to the sidewalk program curbs? I just think the appearance of curbs is very necessary in our town for our water and runoff. So if you would think it's feasible that we're not using all that funding, that if we could add the curbs to that, if that's something that you think would be
Price,
beneficial.
What usually is in that, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Ramos?
Well, I had a question which may change with the addition of curbs, of how many more sidewalks you think?
This added up to 9,200 and some change. So I think we had 40-something thousand in there, so 11,000. So we're not even halfway. So keep beating the pavement. And again, like I say, we're just gonna keep it open until they meet that window where you can't get it done in this year. We're just gonna let it go. We'll go out and grade them out as soon as we get them in then. So we're gonna keep it moving.
So will you let us know if curbs, I know I've had
That's what
people
I would
ask me
I would
about
ask the law
curbs.
director, because what the ordinance states is sidewalk, would we have to amend that to allow people to do curbs?
Probably, yeah.
Would
I
you
didn't
like-
realize the curbs and sidewalk. I thought it was all part of the thing.
No, it's only, it's only a sidewalk program now. I think it's very nice to have curbs added, and if we could, if you could just research the cost per foot, that we
Yeah,
could,
and I have that right now with CDBG project.
Okay.
You know what I mean, because they have a line item.
I mean, I just,
Square foot.
I think nothing looks better when we approach our town and you see new curbs and sidewalks, how it improves the appearance of our
Oh,
city.
yeah, you mean look at Second Street
Oh,
Northwest.
yeah, it's just outstanding what it does,
Yeah.
so. I just would like to see if we could add that. If people are not taking,
And I'll be
Right,
honest with
misuse
you,
it.
I'm shocked, because last year we turned 2 away. So, you know, it's always I'm with you, and then I'm like, because, you know, if you took that, maybe you're only doing 6 last year. So it's a fine line there, I get what you're saying. They walk on the sidewalks, the more footage you can do is great, and I understand the water runoff too, so, yes, we'll have a conversation on it, for sure.
Could you look at maybe if you add curbs, that people that don't have curbs and want to have like the curb program, they can just add the curbs
Like I say,
instead
that's
of
all.
adding a sidewalk to it?
Yeah, we're just opening up conversation here.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Whatever you guys direct me to do, I'll,
I just don't want to take the money away from the sidewalk, but if we could, if it's not being used, you know, if there's a deadline for sidewalk and then any extra money left could be for curbs, something like that. I'm just throwing ideas out. I'm
yeah, I
not
like
trying-
that better
I'm
probably.
not, discussions are not decisions.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, let's just
So-
get it all out there. I agree with you.
Yeah.
If it's,
Priorities.
personally, sidewalks, you know,
Sidewalks.
if we can get
And then we
3,000 feet done and a couple things aside, or curb,
That's right. I
because
mean,
you walk and the people walking on that,
Yeah.
that's, the curbs are secondary, but yeah, does it look great when you got curb and sidewalk?
the
Absolutely.
improvement would be outstanding for
Yeah,
our citizens.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, I
So-
agree with you.
Thank you. But we, like I said, we could apply that to a committee, you know, for a study that we'd want to add curbs and how,
Yeah.
you know,
I'll
sidewalks
figure out-
first, when that deadline's met, what's funding is left, could be used for curbs or sidewalks. You know what I'm saying?
That's fine with me. We can administer it, for sure.
As president, could you assign that to a committee?
I will pass that along for the president to assign.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
You have authority to assign it.
I realize that. I'm passing it along.
I'm giving him an opportunity to expand.
Mr. Russo, did you have a question? Mr. Russo, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I'm rather curious, what was the cause of the street collapse over there by,
Oh, and I'm glad you said that, Carl, because I should have reported that, so I apologize.
I don't mean to be the one to throw snowballs at you.
No, you did not at
I
all.
might feel good today.
Yeah, no, you did not at all. I appreciate that, Carl. What happened there on the storm sewer, side, which runs closer to the west side there in that intersection, unearthed it, and they're all out of brick. So, it's a storm sewer that had a 24-inch line coming out of it, and you can see where mortar had come out of a joint, and then a brick had fallen out, because there was still a brick off to the side of the thing, and you looked where it was a bigger hole, about 4 of them laying over here. So if you can imagine the base probably being a third of it there, the rest of it's gone. So,
Where's that at? Sorry, excuse me. Where-
right here at Ashwood and Second Street Northeast. So, what we did was, we excavated down, ordered concrete, packed concrete around in it. They got down in and made another trough for the pipe. If you remember that day, it rained a little bit, so that's why we kept it closed another day, because we wanted to make sure we looked at it. Well, we've got probably approximately 20-inch divot in it, and almost looked like a rock had fallen or some concrete gave away. So we went and fixed that again. So that's a temporary repair. And the way those sit in the cone shape, it comes down, approximately 13 inches away from that is the sanitary manhole. So we ordered 2 new ones because it's impossible to situate the storm manhole in there and get the sanitary manhole there also. So we're gonna replace both of those at a later date whenever they come in. We ordered them last Tuesday. We had engineer drawings drawn up and they sent those in. And then, so now you'll see the hole get bigger even, but then we'll get it paved back in after it's done. I appreciate that, Carl, because I did completely 100% forget about that. But again, it's temporary now. We feel safe with it. 10 yards of concrete down that hole. I don't know if I'd want to be the one that has to put the other ones in and have to jackhammer 10 yards of concrete out of that hole next. But we will make sure a note of it is on the construction bids though. But thank you, Carl, for that.
All right, better you than me when it comes to the jacket.
Are there any further questions of the service director? Moving, as a matter of fact, Mr. Lonzer, would you take Mr. Ricklick's request to add curbs and gutters to the sidewalk legislation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And moving to the auditor, Ms. Gundy.
I have no report this evening.
Thank you. And to treasurer, Mr. Gerber.
No report, sir.
Thank you. And the law director, Mr. Fate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wasn't sure I was gonna be able to make it here today, but I made it here from out of town, so. Really, I'm just gonna retread what I already sent you in terms of my legal opinions. I am asking tonight that ordinance 11 and 12 be passed. We didn't have enough to pass
No.
first read, did we? All right, well, I would ask that it be passed at the next meeting then. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why we need it, why it's a good program. For those who weren't aware of my opinion on it in the audience or listening in, it deals with our nuisance abatement program, which was constructed to go after the former Oyo Hotel, as an example, going after the former Oyo Hotel, for the number of runs we were making due to illegal drugs and related drug overdoses. It allows us, after 3 or if 1 is a felony, to start collecting the costs of having to go there. And that's, again, part of our effort to deter that kind of behavior in the city of New Philadelphia, because that's something that is I know it's a big goal for the mayor, and it's a big goal of mine that we share in terms of cleaning up our community and making it safe for our citizens. In addition to that, I also issued the legal opinion at the request of, from last council meeting, it was made at the request of Cheryl Ramos and Dean Holland, that goes to the issue of what we can and can't do with our water and sewer services. And if you have any questions on any of those things, since I'm here, I'd be happy to take them personally. All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving to board and commission reports. Planning Commission, Mr. Mayor.
The planning commission will be meeting here in council chambers at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And we will be discussing the Airbnb legislation that's still being considered in Columbus.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Zoning Appeals will meet tomorrow evening at 5 PM here in council chambers with 2 variance requests to be heard. That's in my report.
Thank you. Airport Commission, Mr. Seldenwright.
We will be meeting tomorrow at 6 o'clock in council chambers. No report.
Thank you. And Parks and Cemetery, Mr. Rickley.
Yes, Mr. Pace is out of town. He just asked me to mention a renovation project that's going to be starting up at Tuscarora Park, Field Number 1. The project is going by the name of Turf Tuscarora Diamond. It's going to be organized and administrated with the help of the Park Board and the Park Foundation for the love of the game. There will be a presentation and will be presented at a future council meeting and a press release at that time when Mr. Pace is present, because he's the chair of that committee. I am on that committee. The members of that committee that is going by for the love of the game is myself, Mr. Tom Farbizo, Mr. Mitch Pace, Mr. Ed Marsh, Sharon Ricklick, Mr. Ed Brill, and Mr. Chase Hostetler are the committee members of that. We've been working on this since about 5 years ago, but got very intense here in the last 6 months to move this forward. It's a project that Mr. Farbiz and I have talked about for years. We're both getting up in our age, and we both said this is it, or we're not going to be able to be part of this. So we have gone through each of the channels, had the Park Board approve our presentation. The Park Foundation, we have to work some little bit of paperwork out to use their 501c3 for Phase 1. Again, it's for the ball field down closest to the stadium is what it's for. So look forward to a future presentation, which I will be doing the presentation for the committee. The committee as a whole will be here at that meeting, so if there's any questions or anything that anybody would want to know how we're going to go about. Mayor has supported it, plus we'll run it through the committee of the Park Committee, so council is involved with that also. We're looking for some more partnership, but there's nothing been that's set up for that, but there's meetings that will be set up for the other entities that will be utilizing this field in the future. It'll be a multi-purpose use field. It will not just be for the older children or athletes. It will be for multi-age athletes. So, thank you very much.
Are there any questions of Mr. Rickey? Thank you. And I will be giving the Health Board meeting information. The Health Board met Wednesday, February the 8th here in council chambers at 12 o'clock noon. And the meeting was open to the public. The City Health Board discussed mosquito trapping, which has begun, and trappings are being submitted to the laboratory for testing. In the event that West Nile virus is determined, spraying will commence immediately within a 2-mile radius of the test site. Secondly, COVID is on the rise in the city of New Philadelphia, with a rate for the first week of June being equal to the entire month of April. So it's jumped dramatically. All vaccines are available in the City Health Department, as well as COVID testing kits. Appointments for vaccine injections can be made by contacting the City Health Department. The telephone number there is 330-364-4491, extension 1201. I'll repeat that. I'm sorry, 1208. That telephone number again is 330-364-4491, extension 1208. Anyone that is self-testing and tests positive for COVID should quarantine for a period of at least 5 days. Third, there was discussion of contact with the Public Health Accreditation Board. I think we're all familiar that the Health Department had submitted the paperwork necessary for the department to be accredited, and there's no further information on that application. The Health Board also discussed the need for additional office space for health staff due to personnel working in every available space of the Health Department. And I would invite everyone to visit the Health Department and see the working conditions that the health personnel are experiencing due to the lack of space. Next, there was also discussion of food handling operation regulation changes being implemented to conform with the Ohio Safety Code. Changes being considered are: 1, illumination of workspaces from 40-foot candle illumination to 50-foot candle illumination. 2nd, temperature control for foods needing refrigeration to prevent spoilage shall be maintained at 41 degrees Fahrenheit rather than 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is a Ohio State health requirement. Previously, all persons engaged in food handling were required to have a negative tuberculin test every 3 years. This requirement has been removed from the City Health Department requirements, for this is a test that resides with the State of Ohio Health Department, and they have removed it from state requirements. Next, there was discussion concerning an embargo of food regulation, which is actually Resolution 2/2022, which is being developed in concert with the law director. Resolution 3/2022 is a plans review requirement, which is also being developed. It was discussed in great detail and will be submitted to the Health Board for approval as soon as it's completed. The resolution would require retail food establishments to submit a plan review application for changes in the structure due to remodeling, change in ownership, a change in facility risk level, or a lapse in licensing. It was a lengthy Health Board meeting. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Dean,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Ramos.
so could, maybe you kind of explain this or started to in food embargo? Is that just changing the way the food's arranged? Or, because embargo to me means one thing.
Embargo such as the Jif peanut butter
Oh, yeah.
that has recently been removed from the shelves. We would be placing a 10-day, or the Health Department would be placing a 10-day embargo on certain food products as they are notified by the State Health Department. And during that 10 days, there would be an appeal process where a grocery store or a convenience store, whatever it might be, could appeal.
Could appeal removing the product from the
Removing,
shelves?
yes.
Because it may not be the right lot number, or?
I can't address that, Mr. Mayor. Could you address that?
No, I would recommend that you go visit the health commissioner.
Okay, just ask her if it's lot number.
Right.
Okay. And so these other things that they talked about changing, would that apply to the numerous food trucks we also have in the community?
It would primarily apply to food vendors rather than food service.
Like the
Facilities.
temperature and all that is,
Yes.
would be food service, right?
Yes, that would be food service. And all of that is as a direct result of changes in the state health organization.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions regarding health? Okay, moving to council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Rickles.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met this evening in council chambers at 7 PM. Two items were discussed. Resolution 21, 2022, the increase of the funding to the track stadium from the original 30,000 that council approved to what the mayor requested of the 50,000, the additional 20. And the second item was Resolution 22, 2022, resolution to purchase a piece of property on Reservoir Hill, which is on Ridge Road. Both items were motions made to be passed and added to the agenda this evening for first reading. Meeting was adjourned at 7:19.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the finance chair?
Okay, one more thing, sir. Could I request a meeting for June 27th, 2022 at 7 PM
Sure.
for Finance Committee? The two items will be on there will be additional appropriations to the budget, permanent budget, and the item that Mr. Kemp put in my committee for the fire chief for the ambulance 18-month window. Thank you.
Okay, moving to the salary committee, Mr. Seldenright.
No report.
Safety, health, and service, I have no formal report this evening. Public Works and Economic Development, Mr. Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Zoning and Annexation Committee, Ms. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
Special and Contact Committee, Ms. May.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Special Contacts Committee met this evening regarding ordinances 11, 2022, with the typos within it, and ordinance 12, 2022 for the Housing Board of Appeals amendment. And we discussed it and put them on the agenda this evening to pass on second reading, and then the law director also touched on those points in his report regarding the specifics. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions of the Special and Contact Chair? Okay, moving to that time in our agenda for visitors' comments. Any visitors having comments, please move to the podium. Address your comments to the chair, and you will be given 5 minutes. Are there any visitors that would like to comment? Yes, sir.
Do I have to say my name again?
Please, and address. And we're going to give you the microphone back.
Thank you. My name is Bart Eames. I live at 418 Union Avenue Northwest. And I wanted to ask the mayor about the school thing where you said about with the safety, you're gonna meet with the police and the fire department. Is the public gonna be involved in that as well?
At some point.
The police and the fire department are pretty close-minded about that. I've talked to the police chief about that. There are grants, I don't know if people are aware, there are grants from the Department of Homeland Security that the schools can get, and there's a lot of stuff, but the police are pretty close-minded about stuff like that. Does the city of New Philly have a Facebook page? Okay, I'm blocked on it. I'm asking to be restored because you are impeding on my First Amendment right. So I'd like to be restored on that. Because I made comments on it before, I didn't cuss, which, again, that's my First Amendment right if I choose to do so, but I did not. About all the self-imposed raises that everybody gave themselves on the council, and in return, I got blocked from that. So I'd like to get that restored. It's a public forum, and whether you agree with the comments or don't agree with the comments, it's a public forum.
Mr. Ames, could we have your mailing address so that we can contact you?
Yeah, it's 418 Union Avenue Northwest in New Philly.
I'm sorry, please repeat that.
418 Union Avenue Northwest in New Philly. And I'd like to get a copy of the city's social media policy as well. I don't know if people realize or not, but there is First and Second Amendment rights, and I know Mr. Faith's good on the Second Amendment rights. And I just want to make sure the First Amendment rights upheld as well. So you can't just filter out what you don't like to hear. You gotta take the good with the bad on the government sites. So I'm asking for you to restore, that's my first step. I've already contacted the ACLU. So,
We will respond to you, Mr. Ames. Thank you for your comments.
also, while I'm up here, I live on, obviously, Union Avenue, a lot of semis going up and down the road. And I know they're not supposed to be, I mean, full semi trucks with the 50, 40-foot trailers. I don't know if anything can be done on that. I know they have the signs at the ends of Union, but lately there's been a lot of semis. Also, and this might seem trivial, but the house that burnt down on Union Avenue last fall, whoever from the fire department was there, and it was, I don't know what it was the wintertime, 40 degrees. His truck was running, and I live right there. His truck was running for an hour and 20 minutes while he's inside doing whatever his report with whoever. I just think stuff like that is a huge waste, especially with gas being $5 a gallon. So I don't know if somebody needs to talk to the departments, the police, the fire, whatever. I think that's pretty wasteful, letting your truck run for an hour and 20 minutes when there's nobody sitting in it and you're inside the building.
And this was a New Philadelphia Fire Department vehicle?
Yeah, it was the SUV. I don't know who it was, but like I say, I live 2 doors down. And I'm like, okay, the car's running. And it's like, kept running and running, an hour and 20 minutes later. But it's like, if everybody does that, that's a lot of money. It's like, I'm a taxpayer. I don't mind paying taxes, but I don't want to waste it either. So it's just, it might seem trivial, but I mean, that adds up if everybody would do that. I think the general rule of thumb is if you're going to be sitting for 2 minutes, to shut it off. So.
Thank you for your comments, and we will respond to
Okay,
you.
the Facebook thing, though, is a big concern. I believe in the Constitution, and like I said, that's the first step. I'm asking to get that resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to council? Okay, moving to council comments. Are there any members of council that would like to comment this evening? Seeing none, we'll move into the legislative agenda. Ms. Cordray.
Ordinance number 8, 2022, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend and correct certain specific sections of the Housing Code in Codified Ordinance 1335 due to apparent typos wherein it appears the number 4 was improperly inserted where it should instead be the number 5, and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action to be taken on Ordinance 8, 2022? Ms. May.
Mr. President, I would like move that ordinance 8, 2022 be passed this evening.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Mr. Lonzer. Ms. Courtwright, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer?
Yes.
Mr. Holland? Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Mr. Seldenright?
Yes.
Ordinance 8, 2022 has passed.
Ordinance number 9, 2022, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to adopt a new section of the city's current ordinances regarding fire damaged structures and declaring an emergency, second reading.
Is there any action to be taken on Ordinance 9, 2022? Hearing none, it will be held for the next council meeting.
Ordinance number 11, 2022, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend and correct certain specific sections of the Housing Code in Codified Ordinance 1335 due to apparent typos, wherein appears the number 4 was improperly inserted, where there should be instead a number 5, and to amend the section 1335.62 to include duties of the Housing Appeals Board under Chapter 510 of the New Philadelphia Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action to be taken regarding ordinance 11, 2022? Seeing none, it will be held for our next meeting.
Ordinance number 12, 2022, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend Chapter 510 of the New Philadelphia Codified Ordinances regarding the Board of Nuisance Abatement Appeals and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action to be taken regarding ordinance 12, 2022? Seeing none, it will be held for our next meeting.
Resolution number 18, 2022, a resolution by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, authorizing the City of New Philadelphia to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Programs, execute contracts as required, and upon award of the grant to accept any grant money, and to authorize and direct the Service Director to advertise for bids and award bids for the 4th Street Southwest Storm Sewer Improvement Project Phase 2 and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action to be taken on resolution 18, 2022? Mr. Lonzer.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask that resolution 18, 2022 be passed today.
We have a motion on the floor. Mr. Ripley.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Courtwright.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rigley.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Yes.
Resolution 18, 2022 has been passed.
Resolution number 21, 2022, a resolution by the City of New Philadelphia authorizing the auditor to pay $20,000 to the New Philadelphia City School District for the refurbishing of the track at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action to be taken on resolution 21, 2022? Seeing none, it will be held for our next meeting.
Resolution number 22, 2022, a resolution by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, authorizing and directing the Service Director to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, to purchase parcel number 25-02150-000 located at 1450 Ridge Avenue Northeast, New Philadelphia, Ohio, 44663 at a cost of $16,500 and authorizing the auditor to allocate funds for the same and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action to be taken this evening on resolution 22, 2022? Seeing none, it will be held for our next meeting.
That concludes the legislation for this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Courtwright. Is there any unfinished or old business? Seeing none, is there any new business to be discussed?
I have new business.
Mr.
I apologize. I was in such a hurry when I got here. I should have asked this earlier. This wasn't on my mind. I would request an executive session to discuss threat or pending litigation.
Mr. Rick.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the law director's request.
Is there a second to the motion? Ms.
I'll
Ramos.
second.
Ms. Courtwright, would you call the roll?
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Ms. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenwright.
Yes.
Okay. We will be moving into executive session. We will take 5 minutes and come back for executive session. It's 8:43.
Oh, yeah, very good, Jim.
I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Something like that.
I got that. Thank you.
The next council meeting?
Yeah, the 27th.
Hmm?
Oh, really?
How do we do this?
Sign under it and then cross your name out and then the president protests at cross Don's name out and just write your name.
Oh, okay. Probably. I can't promise you, but probably. All right.
I don't think I've gotten to do this
Okay.
before.
They're doing real good. I just came from a baseball game with one of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, we got beat.
Great deal.
But my son made the All-Star team, so.
I know there's an ordinance
He did.
that states that the boys start.
Is it good?
Yes, he's good.
Wait till we're back. You have to open the doors too.
Yeah, get the doors open. She got excited.
Yeah, you told me I was up.
I was getting you warmed up. You're in the bullpen.
Okay, we're back in a regular session.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, thank you.
8:57.
Okay.
57.
You missed your movie.